I'm Phil Houck of Fighting Irish Preview, and
Len Clark of Irish 101 and Irish Illustrated.
Len, it's good to be back with you talking about a Notre Dame victory and an avalanche of points today. Notre Dame is victorious over Wisconsin, 41-13, but the score was 13-10. Notre Dame was behind going into the fourth quarter, and then Chris Tyree had something to say about it.
Well, the Fighting Irish, nobody expected a score like this, but the Notre Dame defense really was the key in this game, holding Wisconsin to 13 points. Notre Dame's defense actually coming up with 2 pick sixes late in the ball game, which kind of escalated that score, but a total team effort. Big plays, Chris Tyree busting off that big touchdown return, first time since C.J. Sanders a few years ago, but just a win that they could really build on confidence going into Cincinnati next week. But Phil, also a historic day here at Soldier Field, a site where Notre Dame has played many historic ball games, and Brian Kelly beats the great Newt Rockne's record with 106 wins now, so a lot of positives for the Fighting Irish now, 4-0 going into next week's game.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Len, and Notre Dame is now 13-0 throughout history playing in Soldier Field, so they seem to do well there. And in the Shamrock Series games, 11-0. Never lost one in this stadium or in the Shamrock Series. But we got to talk a little bit more about the game today. Notre Dame couldn't rush the ball. 38 carries, I believe, was the number, and they had 3 yards rushing. Total yardage in this game, 239 yards. Wisconsin had 240, but we talked about it before the game. If Notre Dame could capitalize on some big plays, they could have success today because they should be able to hold the points down against Wisconsin, and they were able to do that. They held the points down, and they capitalized on big plays. It wasn't just a kickoff return, but interception returns, and I thought Kevin Austin had a nice game today as well.
2 touchdowns, and good teams find ways to win. As you said, you're going to find a way to win if you're a good ball club and you have that mindset that you want to win. But Notre Dame did have running troubles again. Most of the game, negative yardage. A lot of that is attributed to the sacks on Jack Cohn. Jack Cohn knocked out of the ball game. Drew Pine, the number 2 quarterback, coming in. I guess on television they're saying he was the number 3 quarterback. So down in Indianapolis we had to correct him, saying no, he was the number 2 quarterback. But he came in and provided a little bit of a spark, even though they had a fumble and gave the ball over to Wisconsin. That kind of had that game still in an iffy situation. But next man mentality once again, Phil, that proves to be the difference.
I thought in a game where Notre Dame quarterbacks were under tremendous pressure today, Pine, when he came in, showed more mobility, the ability to throw the ball on the run a little bit better. He's not as big as Jack Cohn, but he did provide the spark that was necessary for the Irish to stay in this game after Jack Cohn went out. But Brian Kelly made it pretty clear after the game who his number 1 quarterback is.
It's Jack Cohn. Hopefully he'll get better. He did the X-ray, everything is clean. But when you saw Drew Pine out there today, he's not as tall as Jack Cohn. Really reminiscent of Ian Book. A lot of quickness, and you would see the difference in speed between a Drew Pine and a Jack Cohn. But I think it was the spark the Irish needed. Just gave him that impetus, saying, hey, sudden change, we need to do something, and he came in with a lot of composure, coming in cold.
Yeah, he absolutely did. So a lot of work still yet to be done with this offensive line. They've got a lot of issues, and another freshman getting some action today, and Joe Alt at left tackle. I think that's our 4th left tackle of the year for Notre Dame. So that's a work in progress. The defense really performed well today. They have come on. They've had 2 great games in a row, and they move on next week to another big top 10 clash in South Bend.
And the injury bug as well, even on defense. You lose one of your big leaders in Kurt Heinisch, who did not start today. But the defense really came together. It was a total team effort. I think the linebackers really led by example out there. J.D. Bertrand, 4th straight game, leading the team in tackles. Here's a guy who was on special teams last year. Only reason he was starting is because of an injury. And now he's leading the team in 4 straight games. But the injuries, Notre Dame will come out of here, lick their wounds. Hopefully everybody will be good, ready to go, prepare for practice, and the game with Cincinnati next week at Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah, back at Notre Dame Stadium next week, the 4-0 Irish will go against the Cincinnati Bearcats. Marcus Freeman will have a homecoming of sorts in that ball game, just like Jack Cohn had one today. I think I'd take Jack Cohn over Graham Mertz. One final word on that.
Well, it's a storyline. Jack Cohn transferring in from Wisconsin, Marcus Freeman coaching at Cincinnati last year. Hey, throw that out. It's new teams, new individuals, new people, but Marcus Freeman will have that little drive, that little fire in his belly saying, hey, I want to send a statement and show them why I'm here at Notre Dame now.
Right, so always a good storyline that us media folks like to talk about. So a good day for the Irish in Chicago today, 41-10 to 13 victors over the Wisconsin Badgers. For Fighting Irish Preview, I'm Phil Hauk.
And I'm Len Clark. Enjoy the afternoon.
We'll see you next week.